What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Quick Diz Takes podcast. I am your host, Tim LeBeau, and this week we have another special episode where we continue our Exploring Disney podcast series. And this week we have Fernanda Siepierski from the Disney Collector's Diary podcast. And we are going to talk a little bit today about Disney parks. She has worked in them several times. And also, she is going to enlighten us, and particularly me, on kind of the ins and outs of what a Disney collector goes through, or what kind of things are, I guess, she likes, and what kind of things are, for lack of a better term, coveted, I would say, in terms of Disney collecting. For those of you that follow me week to week, you know that I am like a amateur collector, I guess. Mainly if I see a pop vinyl I buy it, basically. I don't have much insight, but she does. And her show is all about that. And if you're into that, I highly recommend listening to it. However, I'm going to let her talk about that a little bit later in the show. But let's get into first, Fernanda. What is it, other than the love of Disney, of course, that kind of makes you, but kind of has gotten you really into collecting all things Disney?
Oh, I think I'm a hoarder since I'm a kid, but because of the movies and stuff like that, I always try to bring the characters close to me. So I like to bring items that reminds me of my favorite scene of the movie or my favorite character. Things like that makes me feel really happy. So I end up like collecting loads of things.
Now, back to kind of like what I had mentioned earlier with the coveted items. Are there particular items that you can kind of give us an insight to off the top of your head that would probably be big on any Disney collector's list? Maybe expensive items, hard to find items, rare items?
So there are different categories when you're collecting. So they're basically like, I really like dolls, pins, snow globes. So every category has a different kind of a grail people usually look for. That's what we call them grails, because they're really hard to find or they're really expensive, sometimes both. And so it depends on what you're collecting. For example, for pins, usually cast member pins are really rare to find and really expensive because, of course, they're limited edition. Only cast members can acquire them. Cast members, if you're a cast member, you know that you're not allowed to sell things. So usually when these goes in the market is because they were given to someone and they didn't end up like not liking it, or someone that left Disney and is selling the collection now. So it's kind of things, but they are rare to find because it's not every time you come across them. The same way like dolls, some dolls are really limited. I remember like 10 years ago, they released an Alice in Wonderland doll, and the edition size was really small, and lots of dolls were damaged. Their parents that buy to kids and they destroy them. So you always account that for the price of it. Some of them go for like thousands and stuff like that.
So how much, so a Disney pin, like what are we talking high end price for a really highly coveted Disney pin?
I've seen pins going for like 500,000 for a small pin.
You've seen them get into the thousands for just a single cast member or whatever the pin is. Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to assume, like you said, that's for rarity purposes, most likely, or
yes, rarity purpose. Some of these pins are more expensive than regular pins because pins you buy in the park, they're usually like $10 or $15. The common pins are around this range, but those rare pins are around $30 or even more. And because they're the edition size and everything, it's really hard to find them. So that makes the price go sky high.
What do you think is the best avenue for collecting? Obviously, there's Shop Disney. You and I had spoke about it before the show and things like that. But do you find a certain website or a certain way of doing this the best, generally a better way than other ways, or is it just kind of a crapshoot every time you go?
It's different things. Sometimes you get lucky and you find the things you want real easy on, even when going to the parks or going to the Disney store and stuff like that. But sometimes it's a nightmare, especially last year, because most of the stores were closed. Most of the limited edition items were released online. So you not only had to fight with the regular collectors, but the thing of online collecting, when they bring the products online, is you have to fight bots as well, because loads of resellers go for the bots so they can buy stuff real quick to resell and get money. So it's harder to get the products when it's online focus. So that was a nightmare, especially last year, especially on the dolls area. It was really hard to get those.
So I have a little experience with this. My wife and her friend that actually lives a few houses down from me, we went to the 2020. So just before COVID, we were able to go in January. And they had done Run Disney. And her friend is a collector. She's not officially a collector, but you ever meet those kind of people that aren't, I'm not really big into Disney, but they're really big into Disney. She's one of those. So if she's listening to this, she'll have a good laugh when she hears.
That's how it started.
I always tell her that. I'm like, yeah, you don't really like Disney that much, huh? But you've gone twice a year for the last, X amount of years. But anyway, she wanted to get the ears for the race, which first of all, I want to say that I found odd that Disney didn't put a set, like when you filled out a form to join the race, they didn't give you an option to say, hey, do you want ears, or any of the merchandise right now so we can account for it all when we make it. And long story short, when she went to go get it, it wasn't there because people came in, swooped them out, and she hated to do it because she kept complaining, but she couldn't help herself. She had to go on eBay and pay like triple the price for the ears. So that's something that's always kind of happening.
That's happening a lot, especially with Disney items. If you put together Disney and limited edition, you're always going to find scrappers and resellers and stuff like that. So that's the really hard thing of collecting. You have to find not only other collectors, but as well, like people wanting to resell the items. I did run Disney as well. So I know I didn't get any of the pins of the run I was doing because they were all sold out even before I got there.
Yeah, that bothers me a little bit. I mean, it's not me personally, but I think to myself, that's just not right in a way. Like for a particular event, I think it's a little much that someone that ran the race and paid what I found to be a fairly steep fee to run said race cannot get the merchandise attached.
Yeah, it is kind of disappointed when you not get the things that you want, especially because when I did the Run Disney, I did a 10K. And I wanted the medal and stuff like that to match my medal. So it was really disappointing not to be able to get it.
Yeah. My wife gave up on it. It's funny because, like you said, you want to get one for your particular event. And with them, they did the half. And so they worked like a long time to get ready for that race. And you can't get the merch. It's sad. But I guess it's, first come, first serve.
Yeah, it's part of the Disney collecting history.
Yeah,
it happens every time. They never change that. I've been collecting Disney for 15 years almost. It's a long time, and
yeah,
I know that it's something that happens. They didn't change for over 15 years. I don't see that changing anytime soon. So we're still gonna have to find the bots, to find the scrappers and stuff like that.
It's like I tell my co-hosts and some of the people that are on my podcast all the time. I say a lot of, we complain about these things or we talk about them like we are now. But you know who's really causing all this? Us, because we're Disney contributors on the outside, and whether we know it or not, and some people are have more influence than others, but either way, it's not like the people they listen to, and it's nonstop. And I think with YouTube, I think Disney is, I think Disney's actually grown in popularity, if that's even possible, with YouTube contributors and podcasts like ourselves. But one last question about kind of the idea of buying merchandise and things. What is it like, or what's the climate like as far as counterfeit go? Are there certain things you have to kind of keep an eye on if you're looking for a specific item? You're gonna spend a couple $100, whatever it is. How do you kind of know what you're getting?
So it is hard to buy online because you have to base everything on photos. So you never know. But there are some tricks. For example, Disney usually puts some marks on products, and depending on the products, like ears have specific tags, the pins have a specific information on the back of it. So you kind of know, but sometimes you still get like a fake one.
So how common would you say it is to come across something where, because you're more of an expert than most, would you that you can look at it and go, no, that's not it?
It's easier to come across. eBay is a really bad place for that.
Yeah,
and if you go for you go for places like AliExpress or Wish, there are loads of advertise on Facebook and Instagram for it, but they usually are packed with counterfeit products. So you kind of know those kind of things. You can see sometimes the paint job is bad, especially on figures, on dolls, even on pins. You can see from the picture, they try to give a blur picture, and that's when you kind of, oh, there's something wrong with that. So you go, oh, I rather not than getting a fake item. So the more you look into internet and everything, the more you find. And one thing I find it's great, there are loads of groups on Facebook and Instagram and everything. People do help each other to find, oh, this item is fake, this people is a scammer, or things like that. So that's a really good thing about the Disney collectors community, because they really try to help you from getting something that is not worth the money you're paying for it.
What would you say, or what, I'm sure you probably know right off the top of your head, what is your number one item that you have in your possession as of right now? Or your favorite, whatever. It doesn't have to be the most valuable. Whatever was your favorite. Or she doesn't know. She's looking around.
I don't know. Like, I'm really looking around because there's so much stuff. I think it's not here. I think it's a figure of the Pride Rock for Lion King. It's a limited edition figure. I think they only did over 3,500, something like that. And I remember I was in the parks. I was in Epcot. I saw it. I was like, oh my God, I want it. And I forgot the wallet. I didn't have my wallet with me. And then when someone was able to bring me the wallet, they didn't have it anymore. So I almost cried and everything. And then
I don't mean to laugh.
And then the cast member was really nice, because I remember she called every single store that would have it and the property, like the whole Disney, and she found one for me. I remember I got it on the Grand Floridian, I think.
Nice.
So I had to run to Grand Floridian to get the figure, but I ended up getting it, and I still have it, and it's on my shelf. It's really nice.
Sweet.
It's something that I really treasured. Yeah.
So that's a good thing about collecting. Like I said earlier, I'm an amateur collector. I do have a little obsession with pop vinyls, specifically Disney, but I go through that too. Like, so I was in the parks just before COVID, right? That's what I said. Yeah, just before COVID. And I did the same thing happened to me. They had the Splash Mountain set that had, so I have the one where it's Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox in the log, but they have another one where it was just, I think it was Brer Bear, Brer Fox, and Brer Rabbit, like a 3-pack.
The 3 of them, yeah.
Yes.
I know which one it is.
And I'm like, I have it in my hand, and I'm like, oh, I definitely want this, but we're about to go on Splash Mountain, and we're about to go to the rest of the park, and there's plenty right now. I'll come back and get it. And I didn't go back and get it. And as you probably already know, if you go online now, those are going for some decent money. Not that I would have sold it. It took me like a while, and my daughter was like, I can't believe you're doing this, to actually get the nerve up to unbox these, because I kind of built a set here. And I was like, I kind of want to put my pops up there because I guess pretty good ones. And so that's where that ultimately would have ended up. So the price doesn't mean necessarily anything to me, but it's just the fact that, I literally sat there with it like this, and I'm like, oh, I'll come back and get that. And I usually do follow through, but I didn't.
Yeah, but there's one thing that I always advise collectors. It's better for you to get it and sell after, especially if it's a Disney limited item. It runs out really fast. It disappears from the shelf really fast in a blink of an eye. So it's better for you to get it than not to get it and regret it later.
Yep. 100%.
I had the situation with the Tiana doll, a limited edition doll. I had it in my hands, but I at the time I didn't collect that size. It is the one that is the bigger size, not the Barbie doll size. It's a bigger one. And then I had it on my hands. I put it back because I was like, oh, I'm not collecting it. I don't have space on my luggage and everything. And now she's worth like $500.
Yeah, that's rough.
And it's really hard to find. Yeah.
That's rough. That happened to me with, like I said, with the Splash Mountain ones. And then it happened to me another time last Christmas. I'm in like a GameStop, which I don't know if you have them over there, but they're video game stores here in America.
Yes, we do.
Okay. And I'm in there. I wasn't sure. I'm trying to think of this. Oh, yeah. So I'm in there. I'm shopping. I'm buying a couple of video games for Christmas gifts. And there's a Cara Dune pop vinyl, which at the time wasn't anything to really think was a big deal. But I'm like, oh, I like Cara Dune. I like to add that one. But I'm getting these, I'm buying all the stuff. I'll get that some other time. Now she's most likely not coming back to the show, and try getting one now. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I had like 3 of them just sitting right in front of me. Not that I would have just grabbed one, and I can't win, every time I seem to be blowing.
It's hard to win collecting. It's really hard to win because there are so many things that go against you, either from shipping, from customs fees, from scalpers, bots, for things running out of the shelves, for you not to being able to get something at a certain moment and have to go back to it later and not finding it. So that's what big struggles of the collecting world. But if you really love something, I think it's worth it if it makes you happy, and everything. So that's why I keep collecting. I insist on it.
So my wife, I think she's a better collector than I am, because all the good ones I have, I feel like I get from her for Christmas. Like she got as you can see the big Ezra back there. She scarfed up the Madame Leota one for me that I have back there. The Splash Mountain one in the log, all the good ones. Like Figment, which is somewhere up there, but it's one of my favorites. She gets all the good ones, and I continuously bypass all the good ones. But
you cannot anymore.
I'm a knucklehead.
If you see it, just grab it.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I haven't done that yet, and I have gotten burned every single time I decide against it. It's like, this is the last time I'll tell a story about me being a knucklehead collecting. McDonald's had the toys, right? And usually I'm kind of like, I'm more of like, if it has to do with the parks, I like it more than anything else. But they did have the line that came out recently that had a Disney character attached to like an attraction. So you had like Daisy on, I think it was Daisy. Yeah, Daisy was riding Soarin' back there. Whatever else, Goofy was on Mickey's Runaway Railway. There's like 5 of them. Long story short, in the drive-thru, and they had them all, and I should have just bought them all. Like, you could buy them. You can just say, I want to buy them. They're like $2.99. And I'm like, I'll come back and get them. And I got, you know what I have now? Daisy, and that's it. And it's like, I got to stop doing this.
Yeah, no. It's the lesson you learn collecting. You can never if you really want something, if you're certain you don't want it, okay, let go, you're fine with it. But if you are indecisive, just go for it. Just grab it, just have it, because it's better than regretting not having it.
Yep,
I
you're
think
right.
that's how I feel. Yeah.
You're right. There's no doubt. I can't argue that. I've had too many bad experiences to argue that. All right. Well, let's move on to your time in the parks, which I was not aware was a thing until we just spoke a little bit before the show, which is why I always speak to my guests before the show, because you learn things like that. So you are now living in Limerick. You mentioned
Yes.
you were living in Brazil originally.
Yeah. I was born in Brazil. Then, while in Brazil, I was able to do 3 exchange programs in Disney, 2 college programs, which now they are bringing it back, but they canceled last year for the COVID. And one which is they call the role super greeter, which is a cultural representative. So basically, it's kind of an extension of what they had in Epcot for each country. So we were representing Brazil, but we were everywhere because there are all the tour groups and everything. So we would help them with translation, with guiding through the parks, and all those kind of stuff. Helping with issues they might have, helping them in everything, basically.
Let's talk about a little bit what you did in Disney. Did you so your first college program? Where did they put you, and how was that?
So it happened that my 3 exchange programs, I end up in the same location because I went up the first time. I liked it so much. I requested to go back, and they did accept that me going back to the same location, which was fine. I went to the All-Star Resort. So I work, first I work in the food court for the All-Star. Then I work in the merchandise stores. And then I was super greeter for the hotels. I did extra hours in the parks. I had the opportunity to work in the parks, but my heart is in All-Star.
Nice. So, okay, this is good. This is the first I've had of someone that's kind of outside the attractions realm. So you work at All Stars, and how does it go? Do you still kind of get the same? I don't know if I should call them perks. Like how often were you able to get to the parks? First of all,
Every day.
Oh, okay.
Every day I could. I would go to the parks because when you work in Disney World, your ID, what they called, it's kind of what you make your clock in and clock out and everything, is also a ticket to the park. So you could go like every day. So every day I was in the park. You could meet me all day in the park.
No, sounds like a good time. Did you have so look, your work schedule was just your typical 5 days a week, 8-hour day kind of thing, or was it really demanding?
No, because the first 2 times I worked during Christmas time. So everyone that has been to Disney World in Christmas know how crazy it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to even like enter the parks or do anything because of how full it is. So I was working extra hours. So some weeks I was working 6 to 7 days a week and long hours and stuff like that. So during Christmas time, it was harder to go to the parks, but at the same time, I didn't really feel like going anyways because of how crowded it was. So it was fine. But the other times I was really able to enjoy and have my days off, like 2 days off a week, and go to the parks and everything.
So, okay, so I'm not 100% familiar with the college program. So the college program that can put you in Disney at any various time, right?
Yeah. So there are variations of the college program. So in the US, they usually go for a year. They have to study in the Disney College, what they call. So they do like hospitality courses and stuff like that. For us in Brazil, we do kind of like a summer job kind of thing because your winter is Brazilian summer.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a longer vacation during the winter time. And that's when we can do like the summer jobs, but it's in winter time.
Gotcha.
So I was able to go and spend a longer time. It was 4 months. I was there 3.5 months, and I was able to do and work and everything is the same for usually for South America and some countries is that, but for cultural representatives and college program in the US, the program is longer that I know of. So it's half a year or a year, depending on how long you want to stay.
Is it both? Are they both kind of treated the same way, where you kind of stay in those dorms?
Yeah.
And okay, all right.
Yeah, it's the same. I lived the times I went. There was one time I shared with Americans, but most of the time it was Brazilians because we arrive at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually easier for them to group us together. But you can share with people from all over the world, from Mexico, from China, from basically everywhere. So it's really fun. You get to know a lot of nice people, made really good friends there. It's a really nice experience. I recommend to everyone that is in college to do that program. You see how hard of a job it is to be a cast member. So you kind of like have to appreciate the cast members for what they do, because it is a tough job. But at the same time, you're like have the opportunity to have loads of fun.
All right. So I'm going to do this to you because I do it to every guest lately. Let's talk about your favorite 3 Disney attractions.
Ooh.
You don't have to put them in order, because I was making people put them in order, but I changed the rule. The top 3 is enough. It doesn't have to be in any particular order.
So I'd say Splash Mountain, Everest, and Haunted Mansion.
Okay. I just told you not to put them in order, but now I do have to ask this though, because the mansion seems to be the one that always falls into place. Would the mansion be your favorite of those 3? Just out of curiosity, because No,
I'd say it's Splash Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me because when I go to the parks, I usually, especially Disneyland and Disney World, I usually do Splash Mountain and Haunted Mansion, or the other way around, because they usually stay really close because of the areas.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 2 attractions that I usually do together. That's why I love them.
Okay.
And I cannot separate them. But yeah, it's good, but I think I like Splash Mountain more, and I'm really excited to see the Princess and the Frog one.
Yeah.
Because Tiana is my favorite princess. So I'm really excited about the transformation. Can't wait.
Yeah, I think it's funny that I think it's I'm excited about it as well. I think it's funny though about that transformation, because and with politics aside and all that good stuff, but obviously they're changing it because it's themed after something that's they're not so proud of. And
yes and no, because I feel they're renovating lots of attractions like they did with the Norway one. I always forget the name of the attraction.
Maelstrom.
They brought Frozen to Maelstrom. They brought Frozen to it. So Space Mountain here in Paris, it's a Star Wars team now.
Yep.
So you can see Test Track in Disneyland. They renovate and they did a thing that is Cars team. So they are bringing more of the newer characters.
Mm-hmm. Good idea.
So they can relate to the audience right now.
Yep.
Because loads of people that go to Splash Mountain really like it, but they have no idea who the characters are, what they're doing there.
Yep.
I think it's the same with Country Bear Jamboree and those things. Although they're classic attractions, it is hard for the audience nowadays to relate to it. So it's good for Disney to renovate them, to bring those people like, oh, it's a character they know, so they're gonna go more. I think so. That's my opinion. That's why I think it's happening, not just because it's a story that should be put under the rug.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. And that was the other thing I was going to say, is that, so some people are getting upset, and I'm thinking to myself, well, there's definitely some element of, at least a minor element of that being part of it. And then what are you so attached to anyway? Because who's even seen that movie? Because they pretty much, it's kind of an oddity that even got themed to that at the time it did. But anyway, point being, I think Princess and the Frog is a welcome addition, because to me, don't get me wrong, Splash Mountain, I like it because the music that's in it and all that stuff is going to always be, specific to that attraction. It'll always be in your mind. And I like, I like Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit as far as, in the ride goes, never seen the movie.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them.
Never seen the movie.
Like all those kind of things. No, I did saw the movie, but I still love them, and I love the ride. But I'm really excited for Tiana because it's Tiana.
I think it makes sense, you know, for that to go in there. I think it makes sense a lot. I think that you mentioned Frozen going, and that like they kind of made that make sense because it has a Norwegian feel to the movie, but it doesn't really make sense because those. I mean, if you're gonna go with the argument that those pavilions are supposed to be kind of explaining the different countries' cultures, I mean, Frozen is not doing that any way, shape, or form. That said, I love Frozen, so whatever.
Yes and no, but I think they brought more of the elements of the Norwegian culture in the second one, but the attraction is based on the first one. That's why it's not like related.
I'm back and forth on the attraction because I do like it. Whatever you get the songs in the movie and the fan service is there, of course, but where does it just doesn't? It's not a book report attraction where it went through scenes from the movie. It's not. It has nothing to do with the sequel. It's like in this weird time between the first one and the second one, I guess. And it just kind of, it's like almost like they just put it there to be there, and it's fine though. I'm not trying to get on the Frozen attraction. But my point, I guess I'm trying to make is that where Princess and the Frog goes in the Splash Mountain, I think it's gonna tell this. I think that ride system and the amount of room you have in there is going to tell that story perfectly, especially in Disneyland where it's right near New Orleans Square.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be amazing. And they have the restaurant to match, which has the most amazing food. Yes. I love the gumbo in the bread. If you ever go to Disneyland, you have to try the gumbo in the bread. It's the perfect dish for me. Yeah, the perfect Disneyland dish.
I've never had it at Disneyland, but I've been to New Orleans, and I would imagine it's a pretty good representation there as well. But it's delicious, yes.
So good.
It is. Good. New Orleans has like literally. As far as my American experiences have gone, and I've traveled Europe a few times as well, but as far as my United States experiences have gone, New Orleans by far has the best food I've ever had. As far as day-to-day, variety of restaurants, they just make amazing food down there. But not to get
haven't been there yet, so I need to go.
Yeah, if you like gumbo, you'll love it. Anyway, so you are kind of a thrill seeker then, because you got Everest on there, you got Splash Mountain on there, although you did give honorable mention.
Not really.
Okay.
I do also love the Grand Fiesta Tour in Mexico Pavilion.
Okay.
It's kind of like my fourth place.
Ooh, we got different opinions on this one. I want to hear this a little more. So what is it about that one? I mean, obviously that. I believe Three Caballeros actually took place in Brazil, right? Is that right?
Yeah, one of the stories, yeah. So Three Caballeros is basically Jose Carioca, Panchito, and Donald. Donald being born in the US, Panchito being born in Mexico, and Jose Carioca being born in Brazil.
Okay.
So I grew up reading comic books of Jose Carioca in Brazil because they're really popular there.
Oh, that's cool.
They have many comic books. I have like figures here of Jose Carioca. And
see, I didn't know. I'm learning something now.
Yeah, so it's really nice to have, even though it's a Mexico pavilion, it kind of speaks to me because he also has Jose Carioca and he's a really nice character. And they brought him back. If you ever, in Disney Plus, they have a show called The Legends of the Three Caballeros.
Mm-hmm. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw it. Yep.
It's really good. It's a newer version of the movie because the movie is kind of like, it didn't age well.
No, I've seen it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it didn't age. It's not the kind of movie like Snow White or Sleeping Beauty. It is a movie that didn't age well, but at the same time, as I grow up with comics and other references for these characters, for me, they always had a special place in my heart. And Grand Fiesta Tour represents those kind of things, like they meeting each other, they having fun together, like I saw in the comic books, and I see in the Legend of the Three Caballeros. They also bring that in a DuckTales episode of the new one.
Yep.
So they are there. That's why I really like the Grand Fiesta Tour. I'm afraid it's going to be renovated as well, just for the same reasons that I mentioned before for Tiana and for Frozen. I think they're trying to bring characters that people can relate more. Not everyone knows the Three Caballeros. They're really kind of like niche. They're really popular in the Asian parks, but not in the US as much. So I think they're renovating it soon. But
I think
I would
so
like
too.
to go one last time before they do.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable that Coco gets put into that pavilion.
Yeah.
And it's not. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing in the sense of. I mean, I know you like Three
I do love
Caballeros.
Coco.
Yeah.
I do love Coco. As I said, like I'm open to growth. I'm open for these renovations because I understand what they are, and I know, as I said, Three Caballeros is really niche, but I'm gonna miss the animatronics there that keep missing, but they're still there.
I'm excited to have met someone. I mean, not that I hate it. I don't hate it, but I've never met anyone that was enthusiastic about it like yourself.
I'm really enthusiastic.
I don't know what I would. I mean, I remember. I'm probably a little older than you. I remember the original Mexico ride, and that one was not so great. So I think the Three Caballeros have definitely spiced the ride up. I think I wish the ride system were a little better, and that's not their fault. It's just, I mean, it's literally just a very slow boat ride. There's, it reminds me a lot of It's a Small World. I think that one scene, I think they're actually purposely trying to pay a little homage to that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the lines are never that long, and I think that Coco is inevitable. And the one thing about Coco, I will say, and I'm probably wrong about this because you're probably going to tell me that this I might be missing the underlying thing here, but Coco will, for as far as getting Mexican culture explained or presented, like I think Coco will really translate well for that because the movie definitely, yeah.
I think so. Coco has really nice elements for the Mexican culture. From what I know from my friends from Mexico, the food that they show, all the flags that the decorations, the way the houses are shown, the whole Day of the Dead culture, which is really different from what people expect. People expect like parades and stuff like that, and it's not like that. It's really about going to honor the dead in cemeteries or even inside the houses, doing the altars and stuff like that. So I really think it's a nice thing. And I really think Coco will be really nice in the Mexico pavilion. It's just, I really hope I can get to see the Grand Fiesta Tour before they do that.
I think you will, because I think they're not. I don't know if they're going to be able to get to Coco anytime soon. They got a lot of work on their hands over there, and they fell behind because of COVID too.
And there's the other, I don't know. They're bringing new movies as well. So they have Elena of Avalo, which is a really good princess they could put in the attraction as well. And they have the Elena from Meet and Greets and stuff like that. So there might be a thing that. And Elena is not only represent Mexico, she always has elements of other South America countries, including Brazil. So she brings a lot of cultural references that would be interesting for kids to relate to and learn and everything. So that might be another option. Of course, because Coco is a movie, it kind of like lasts longer, the impression on people. I think because Elena was a TV show, it was on Disney Junior, which is people see as a kid show, but it's not really. It's a really good show if you go to see it. So
my daughter loves it.
Elena's really good. She became one of my favorite princesses.
Yeah, she loves it. Sophia and her, they were. I mean, it was Sophia first, and then.
Because Elena came from the Sophia necklace, so they are kind of related as well. So it's only natural for the flow to follow.
Yep.
But yeah, Elena would be a nice addition to Mexican Pavilion. They could do loads of things in Mexico. There are probably new movies they're going to release because they are always releasing new movies. So you never know if they have different plans for it. But Yeah, we see.
Yeah, I think.
I think they're finishing the Mary Poppins attraction first and the Ratatouille,
Yeah,
and they're gonna focus on that first before moving on to other areas, other pavilions.
yeah. I think that the one gripe I have, if they move to Coco, I hope the one thing they do, which I don't like about Three Caballeros, is not the property itself. It's just I wish there was more practical animatronics throughout the ride. A lot of screens being used in that ride, which makes me
Yeah.
feel like when at the time they kind of threw it together. And Disney does that. I mean, we all love it, but let's face it, they do that sometimes.
But I think it's kind of how the movie works. It's kind of the mix of animatronics and screens. That's the movie's always like that. It's always the 3D with 2D
Okay.
live action with animation. So it's a really mix of those things. So I think that's what they wanted to achieve. But I don't know. I think they're gonna change it.
When they stuck the animatronics in at the end, I thought I was like, all right, that was a good upgrade. Like that scene's good. Although right now it's cardboard cutouts, but
Yeah. I heard a rumor that they are doing, the way they have first King Possible and then Phineas and Ferb around the world, where you have kind of like to play a detective role and interact with the settings of the. I heard they are doing DuckTales one, so that might be a way to still keep the Three Caballeros somewhere in Mexico. So the animatronics might move somewhere and then they still can and then they can renovate the attraction to a different thing. So it might be the way Disney see those things. So we have to wait and see.
Yeah, I guess. But my favorite part of the Mexican pavilion is the restaurant. So I love going to that restaurant.
Mine is the margaritas.
Yes. Avocado margaritas all around for me.
Oh, it's so good.
I'll never forget the time I saw that. The first time I saw an avocado margarita on the menu, and I got it. And my wife, I ordered it. I didn't even tell my wife and I hadn't talked about it. The waitress just came over. I said it. She kind of just looked at me. I'm like, I don't know. It's on the menu. She's just, I want to try it. I never heard of it. And I took a sip of it. I looked at it. I was like, this is amazing. And now it's like a thing. We always have to get avocado margaritas.
It is really good. All the margaritas there, not only the avocado, all the margaritas there are really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the best drinks.
There you go.
Drink around the world.
Oh, yeah. I always start there. And yeah. So I think it's the only place I get. I'm kind of a beer guy, but I think it's the only place I get a non-beer drink because those margaritas are delicious.
I love in China as well. They have a melon kind of drink. I love that one as well.
Okay, I never tried that one. I'll have to get that look when
I think
there.
It's China. It's a melon kind of thing. Or Japan maybe. One of those two. But I'm pretty sure China.
All right, I'll have to check that out because I'll be down there for the Flower and Garden in a couple of weeks, and I will be definitely trying some of those cocktails.
Yeah. They have a nice Three Caballeros Siepierski there this year.
Okay. And
on the Flower and Garden.
Oh, I got you. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. I haven't. So we used to almost always go in January, and so I almost always be there for Festival of the Arts, which is fine by me. But this is the first time I'm going to see Flower and Garden. So, and I'm taking my father, who is 61 years old and has never been to Walt Disney World.
Ooh, that should be interesting.
Or any Disney park for that matter. And I'm not quite sure how I got so obsessed without him ever going, but my mother and I used to always go. And then as I got older, I went myself. But yeah, he's never been. And so that'll be something to see. I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's only going to Epcot, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because it's under construction. But I think Soarin' will blow his mind a little bit and Test Track and things like that.
Soarin's really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get going. But before we do, Fernanda, would you mind telling my audience where they can find you and what you guys do and all that good stuff?
Sure. So you can find me and Sarah in Disney Collector's Diary, which is an Instagram for a podcast. There you can find a link for a podcast as well. You can find the Disney Collector's Diary in mainly the all the podcast directories like Spotify, Apple. If you go Disney Collector's Diary, we're gonna pop up is a picture of two girls, a drawing. We are in kind of like the Fantasia book. It's really fun. And we basically talk about our experience in collecting, how it's to wake up like 4 a.m. to go to a queue for getting a doll, or even 2 a.m. for a D23 queue for getting some exclusive items. So it's something really fun, and it is better because me and Sarah found each other, and we are so crazy about Disney, and we can count each other for getting items for each other and for other things as well, for talking about just everything, for TV shows and life and everything. So it's basically that. And you can see us, you can find our personal Instagrams there as well. So you can see our personal collections, everything that we buy, all our house and stuff like that, which is a lot of stuff that we buy.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's how would I put this? If you're into, it's, well, 100% if you're into Disney collecting, listen to this, because I'm not sure there's another. I mean, I haven't listened to every Disney podcast, admittedly, but I'm not sure there's too many that are like this. It's very insightful on collecting, which I know a lot of people are into. I think a lot of people, and you don't necessarily have to be into collecting. Like, I've listened to them and I've enjoyed them. And like I said earlier in the show, I'm an amateur. I'm not really a collector, but I just find it fascinating, the channels people go through and the what they do to get things and how they get things. And I mean, these Fernanda's traveling from Limerick to go to D23 for an example. She's grabbing stuff there, and so yeah, they're really cool. And they're really into it. So, and I would say, without knowing what an expert is, I would say they are definitely in an area of expertise for them. So if you're curious about any of that stuff, they are definitely the channel to check out. So definitely do that. All right, Fernanda, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And we will get out of here now, but I will talk to you guys at home next week.